Welcome to day 31 of our walk through Romans. Thanks so much for joining us again this morning. If you haven't been to the Lord yet in prayer, please start there.
Let every person be subject to the governing authorities, for there is no authority except from God, and those that exist have been instituted by God. Therefore, whoever resists the authorities resists what God has appointed, and those who resist will incur judgment. For rulers are not a terror to good conduct, but to bad. Would you have no fear of the one who is in authority? Then do what is good, and you will receive his approval, for he is God's servant for your good. But if you do wrong, be afraid, for he does not bear the sword in vain. For he is the servant of God, an avenger, who carries out God's wrath on the wrongdoer. Therefore, one must be in subjection, not only to avoid God's wrath, but also for the sake of conscience. For because of this, you also pay taxes, for the authorities are ministers of God, attending to this very thing. Pay to all what is owed to them, taxes to whom taxes are owed, revenue to whom revenue is owed, respect to whom respect is owed, honor to whom honor is owed. Let's break this one apart. As Paul has been talking about what it looks like for a Christian to live a life that is a living sacrifice to God, he now turns his attention to the way a Christian should behave in relation to the government. The context, of course, for his readers was how they behaved with the Roman Empire, who at the time was not supportive necessarily of the new movement of Christianity called the Way. But Paul says that as Christians, we're to be subject to the governing authorities in general. Why? Because governmental authorities have been instituted by God. Sometimes God may give good authorities as a blessing, and sometimes the authorities may be more nefarious as God chooses to bring trial or judgment, as we see in 2 Chronicles 25:20. But either way, God rules over the earthly authorities, as we see in Psalm 75:7. We must not resist these authorities, or else we are resisting God, and we will be judged for it. Civil government, even when not perfect, is still better than anarchy and helps promote good conduct for society. In fact, these authorities are there as representatives of God to punish those who do wrong. Therefore, we must submit to their authority to protect ourselves from that punishment, as our conscience also bears witness that this is right. Paul then addresses taxes and says we must pay taxes to the government, whether we agree with what the money is being spent on or not. The authorities, whether they know it or not, are actually ministers of God in carrying out justice, and we must pay the money we owe in order to support this ministry. And beyond paying our taxes, we must also give respect and honor to these authorities. There is no moral litmus test Paul gives here, saying, give respect and honor when these leaders are good people, or when you agree with their politics, or when they represent your interests well. Rather, Paul is saying that they deserve our honor and respect because God put them in place, and acting in this way is part of good Christian living. Remember, as 1 Corinthians 5:20 says, we are ambassadors for Christ, and so as ambassadors, we represent God, not ourselves.
Thanks so much for joining us. If you enjoyed this video, please press the like button below. And don't forget to subscribe so that you can get all the latest content. We'll see you again tomorrow.